So as of today, January 13th, 2021, the news broke James Harden has been traded to the Brooklyn Nets. And with James Harden going to the Brooklyn Nets, the main thing that comes from this, obviously, is that now James Harden will be teammates with Kevin Durant, his former teammate from the Oklahoma City Thunder, and Kyrie Irving. But now that puts three stars on the same team. Now, obviously, for the Nets, this could either really work out well in their favor and make them contenders if all three stay on the same page and they all stay healthy and they all stay free of COVID. This could definitely make the Nets contenders. But then there's also the possibility that the three of them don't mesh well as teammates. Something goes wrong and it doesn't work out as well as expected. Or it's possible this could work out great in the short term and doesn't work out as well in the long term. But regardless of how you look at it, this is most definitely going to change the landscape of the Eastern Conference for this foreseeable future in the NBA. Because now you got those three guys as teammates. You got Harden, KD, and Kyrie. Like I said, three all-stars. And you got the Philadelphia 76ers. They're going to have to play against the Brooklyn Nets and compete against them, and possibly in the playoffs in a 7-game series. Which if those three are on the same page and the Sixers with their unit has to compete against them, that could be a very tough series for the Sixers. I know there are Sixers fans that they wanted James Harden to play with the Sixers. And on one hand, I understand. You got Joel Embiid, you got James Harden, another star player who still has mileage left in his gas tank, if you will. And I understand you wanted to bring them in with Joel Embiid. And there is the possibility that could create for a great team in the paint. But then there's also the possibility that the Sixers would have to give up some of their pieces, especially some of their shooters, in order to have gotten Harden. So then there's the possibility the Sixers would have had to give up some key pieces to get James Harden. So I don't know if that really would have been the best. So on one hand, I can understand a guy like James Harden, why you'd want him in Philadelphia. But then again, at the same time, I don't know if they could have lost some key depth they needed. They would have to give that up in order to get Harden. So maybe they're better reserved keeping that. But the future will tell us whether or not who won and who really lost from this deal. But as far as this season goes, I think as long as those three stay on the same page, they're definitely contenders for the Brooklyn Nets. Now, here's the thing, though. The Brooklyn Nets don't have much of a bench to work with. They don't have a lot of depth on their roster. So if someone gets injured or someone gets contracted with a case of COVID or they're out indefinitely, injury, COVID, whatever the case is, or it doesn't work out, then what do the Nets really have on their team to work with? So then there's always the possibility it might not work in their favor. But only time will tell what actually happens. Then again, there's also the possibility it could start off great with those three as teammates. This could be great this year, possibly the next year. But then in the long term, it's possible those three don't get along well. It's possible Kyrie's not happy being considered the third guy. He doesn't want to be in that situation, which could cause some tension in the locker room. But these are all different possibilities that could happen. We don't know what's actually going to happen with those three as teammates. I mean, I thought that a guy like Kyrie Irving, he might not be happy being considered the third guy, and that's still a possibility. Again, only time will tell if that actually does happen. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see, and it changes the landscape of the Eastern Conference in the NBA for the foreseeable future. I was watching the Philly Talk podcast. They did a video about this. I left a comment on there saying that's definitely going to shape up the NBA in the Eastern Conference, in the Atlantic for the foreseeable future. So it'll definitely be interesting to see what's going on. I think this could be great in the short term. I think as long as all three of them are happy and they're on the same page and that team stays healthy, the Nets could be a threat in the Eastern Conference, especially the Sixers. The Sixers got to play them in the playoffs if they make it to a series with the Nets. So that'll be interesting to see what happens there. And I also do think in the long term, it is possible, like I've said before, that maybe those three don't mesh well. Maybe Kyrie isn't happy about it, but we'll have to see what happens. But regardless of what happens here, we'll definitely be keeping an eye out to see what happens, see how the Nets do going forward. And I said everything I was going to say. So if you like this video, give this video a thumbs up. Also subscribe, hit the notification bell so get a notification when I upload a new video. Feel free to comment. Let me know, what are your thoughts on this James Harden trade? Do you think the Nets are better off for it? Do you think the Sixers are worse off for it? What do you think the long-term implications of this trade are going to be? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Snicky Steve signing off. Thank you for watching. Have a wonderful night, and I will see you next time.